welcome everyone to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we're in the building tonight here once again, bringing it to you from the lockdown living room, broadcasting to you on multiple platforms. We are broadcasting to you on every place, everywhere. We're having fun, but anyway, we're broadcasting to you on multiple platforms. We want to give a big shout out to all those who are watching the replay on Periscope. We thank you, Periscope watchers, which is aka Twitter TV. We thank God for those of you who are watching us right here and right now. We also thank God for those of you watching us on YouTube Live and on Facebook, and those who are listening to the broadcast via WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. You also can find us broadcasting to you on WIGOAM.com, which is also on TuneIn Radio as well. So we got lots of places where you can hear the broadcast, and thank God for that. Also, you can go to our website, realtalksports.net, click the Listen Live button, and voila, you'll find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. Well, we are going to talk all sports today. We're going to hit a little baseball, a little basketball, a little football, and of course, we're going to be talking about the continued conundrum of COVID and its effect on sports here in America. So we're going to talk to you about all of that stuff tonight. And of course, we're going to bring in some people that you know and love who are thankfully part of our regular crew of broadcasters. We're going to bring them on. Now, we're going to talk some baseball with Brian Jones from Pop Culture and 24/7 Sports. Then later on, we're going to talk some basketball with Deshaun Tate, our basketball savant. And then we're also going to be talking a little college football with Iris Fambro Carter from the Ultimate Dog Nation. And you know how we like to end the show. We always end it with our man, D. Orlando Ledbetter, talking about the Atlanta Falcons. So keep it locked right here. We're going to bring you some great stuff here. And we're going to start it off with a guy that, again, knows everything about baseball. He also knows a ton of stuff about pop culture. The one and only Brian Jones is in the building. Brian, welcome to the Lockdown Living Room.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. Always a pleasure being here.
Well, man, it's good to see you, man. And like I said, a lot of stuff going on out here. It is absolutely crazy how I guess you want to call it the conundrum of the coronavirus is still having its effect on us. But nevertheless, man, pro sports are going on. And so what we want to talk to you about is how the Braves are looking right now in this early part of the season.
You know, considering the injuries they have dealt with, whether it's Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, Mike Soroka, who's out for the year, they have hung in there. They're in first place in the NL East, only a game behind. So it looks like there's going to be a battle with the Marlins, the Phillies, the Nationals, who they're playing right now, for that division lead and for the division crown when the season's all said and done. But the fact that they are still playing at a high level and they've only lost one game at Truist Park so far this season, it goes to show you how talented this team is, and it goes to show you how deep this team is when it comes to what they do offensively. So, you know, Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, it looks like they're going to miss another week, maybe two, with wrist injuries, and they're still trying to figure out their starting pitching rotation. Bullpen is one of the best best in all of Major League, so they don't have to necessarily worry about that. But hopefully they can get healthy in the next couple of weeks, and once you see that, then you can really see the Braves hopefully turn things up throughout the month of August and into September.
Well, you talk about a turn up. How important is it that the Braves continue to play well at home? Because technically speaking, we're just past the third way through the season. Is that right?
Yeah, just about getting probably a little bit over a third, getting close to that halfway point. But yeah, it's always important to win your games at home, and especially again with them especially with the schedule they have. You know, they're obviously facing teams in the division and teams in the AL East. They recently faced the New York Yankees, got swept by them in 2 games, and they're going to face the Yankees again at Truist Park later on this month. But the way they've been playing at home, the way they've been fighting back, even last night where they were down 5 runs. They were able to win that game in the final swing with Dansby Swanson with a walk-off 2-run homer. Yeah, it's always important to win at home, and the Braves have done a tremendous job of doing that, and largely because of some of the younger players who have stepped up. As I mentioned, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall, who has been really clutch for this team so far this year. Nick Markakis, who's currently on the injured list because he was possibly exposed to someone with COVID-19. He's been playing well, and then you're getting production out of Freddie Freeman as usual. So you're a combination of younger players, and then your veterans are stepping up when needed to, especially with the starting pitching struggling right now. And I think that's going to be very crucial for when they do finally get healthy at the end of August towards September, because, again, even though there's going to be more playoff teams this year because of everything that's going on, I think ultimately the Braves wanted to win the division and have that home field advantage.
There's no question, man. It puts a lot of pressure on you to, like you said, basically win out if possibly at home, because you only have, I think, a 60-game season. So a lot of pressure on you to really make hay in those 30 or 35 games that you have at home. So certainly the Braves continuing to show that walk-off magic. And it's really, it really, when you see those types of things, those big home runs, it just saddens you that fans can't be there, because as you know, Truist Field is electric when the Braves pull off those late inning comebacks. So again, shame they can't be there, but good to know that the Braves are still in the hunt as we continue to push forward. You talk about Nick Markakis. What a turnaround that situation is. Here's a guy that basically said at the beginning of the season, I'm not playing, and now has once again become a key cog on that team. Tell us a little bit about some of the other guys that are impact players on the Braves that we may not know about, or guys that you think are just doing a good job overall.
Well, I think one of the guys you have to talk about as the guy on the mound tonight is Josh Tomlin, who splits his time between relief pitcher and starter. He got the start tonight because of all the injuries that gone on in starting pitching. He's hanging in there today, but he's pitched really well so far in 2020. They recently called up Christian Pache to take the place of Nick Markakis. Now, Christian Pache is considered the 14th best prospect in the minor league, so you might see him tonight, but you will, if not, you will see him in the future. And I think he's going to be, again, one of those guys that the Braves bring up in their farm system and make an immediate impact. And again, I mentioned Adam Duvall. Some people may know him based on what he was able to do last year, but I think based on what he's done so far this year, he's been really clutch for this team, coming up with big hits, home runs. So he's essentially earned his way into that starting lineup each and every day. So those are a few of the guys that I think that have stepped up so far in terms of a fair amount of Braves fans not necessarily knowing their names. So, and I think it's only to continue as the weeks go on, because I think there will be some more younger players that do step up.
Yeah, there's no question. Everybody talked about at the beginning of the season that the big key was for the Braves their depth, and obviously we're seeing that now. Now, speaking of depth, a guy who has been kind of a disappointment as far as his inconsistency. What's happened to Faulty? Do you have any update from him as far as what he's doing in the minor leagues right now?
I think they're just trying to get back his confidence. When you looked at what he did at the beginning of the year, he just didn't have his fastball.
Right.
I think it topped out maybe in the low 90s into the high 80s. 2 years ago, it was in the mid to high 90s. And there were fans talking about his appearance, that he lost a significant amount of weight. So I think they just need to get him right physically and mentally in order for him to get back to where he was pitching at an all-star level a couple of years ago. I think the biggest issue with Folksy is he gets in his own head. If things don't go his way, if he gets a home run or a big hit, he can't recover from it. And I know that the coaching staff and even veteran players have tried to work on him in terms of letting those plays go and moving on to the next batter, because he's talented. He has all the stuff it takes to be a quality pitcher. I remember I went to a game maybe a couple years ago where he pitched a complete game shutout. So he has that ability to be, a top-notch pitcher in the major leagues. He just needs that consistency, and that's not just him, but it's just some of the other Rays too. Sean Newcomb being another guy who was essentially 1 out away from pitching a no hitter a few years back, but he's just been very inconsistent as well. So I think for Bolte, he just needs to get back his confidence, get back in shape. I think if he's able to do that, he should be able to get his fastball, and hopefully he could be back with the Braves sooner than later.
No doubt. So we're going to have to keep our eyes out to see what's going to happen there with the Bravos, and see if they can pull this thing around. It is too bad that we're kind of in the middle of this whole pandemic, and certainly we don't want to diminish in any way the health risk factors that are out there. But we're just looking for the Braves to hopefully, man, break through and win. We talk about will it be a tainted championship? It's kind of tough to say that because baseball has played in strike years and nobody said anything about the world champion not being the champion. Of course, we're talking about 60 games, not even 100 games. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but nevertheless, you got to just give these guys kudos for getting out there and wanting to play, and keeping the fan interest in a game that what would you say has been the popularity level of baseball? What have you seen over the last 5 years as far as popularity of the sport?
I think Major League Baseball is different from the NFL because I think it's more of a regional game than it is a national game. Because for NFL fans, they'll watch other teams play, let alone the team that they're a fan of, because of, I guess, of how the NFL markets its players, markets its teams, just markets the whole league. I think in baseball, it's a little bit more regionalized. You don't necessarily even though the Yankees and the Red Sox are considered one of the bigger rivalries in all sports, it's just not a draw compared to, say, the Packers and Bears in the NFL. So I think 5 years ago, I think it was still popular, but not as popular as it was 20 to 30 years ago. And again, this just comes back to marketing. You don't necessarily have that marquee player that everyone talks about. Technically, it should be Mike Trout, and you hope that it can be Ronald Acuna a few years down the road. But because of the rules baseball has in place, when it comes to television contracts and it's just things of that nature, the baseball is not as popular as it could be. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to the World Series, more people are going to be watching, and it's going to be sold out crowds once you get crowds back. But I think in terms of where baseball is compared to other professional sports, you can probably rank it behind the NFL and the NBA.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it, man. And I think I hate to put it that way, but this way, but to me, again because I'm old, to me, what I've seen a market change when baseball made a decision, we're not going to actively recruit African American players, and that we're going to shift our attention to primarily recruiting Latin American players. And what I saw is a shift from, and don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away from the skill sets of the players that are out there, but when you had guys, a lot of your sports personalities in baseball were probably African Americans, especially when I was coming up. Whether you liked them or didn't like them, these were guys that just drew your attention to the screen. I have to go into the Wayback Machine. So you guys that are out there that are millennials or post-millennials or Gen Xers might not have been around for that. You're going to have to go and Google this name up. Google the name of Reggie Jackson. And also Google up the name Mr. October. Google up the name of Pittsburgh Pirates 1979. I'm going way, way back on you guys. But just put in some of these teams that had, really outstanding African American ball players, and you just don't have that. When I grew up, you watched some of the teams that played in the 80s and 90s. They played what we call National League style of baseball. These teams played a hit and run, fast-paced game, mostly on AstroTurf. The great Cardinals teams of the 80s, they did a lot of that, and we just don't seem to have that energy. And even when you go into 2000 and you look at, guys like, the 90s, you look at guys like Sammy Sosa, Latin American, but, certainly dark in color. You look at Barry Bonds, whether you like him or not. This was a guy that was a magnet for attention because you wanted to see him play. and I just don't see that. And you talk about Mike Trout. Mike Trout, great ball player, but he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that star power. He just doesn't. I know he doesn't want it, but in order to promote the sport, I think you're going to have it going forward. So I don't know what baseball is going to do, but they're going to have to do better if they're going to draw people in. Let's go ahead and look at this here. I'm got a couple of questions here on Facebook Live. Let's go here. Big shout out from Nathan Lewis. He does his own talk show as well. Good job, Nathan. He's just saying, hey, I appreciate you. And we have a question from Donna Jones down in Washington, D.C. Uh-oh. All right, Braves Nation, for those of you who are watching, she is a Nats fan. Let me click her off real quick. Sorry. Speaking of Nats, Brian, how do they look right now as far as their ability to defend their crown as World Series champions?
They're getting off to a slow start. I think they have about like an 8-10 record, but they still have the talent to compete for the NL East crown and possibly make a run at the World Series. Losing Anthony Rendon does hurt them, but they still have Max Scherzer. They still have Steven Strasburg. Juan Soto is off to a tremendous start. Adam Eaton, those guys, they still have their core nucleus of players that were there last year. So I think the biggest problem with the Nationals is they're playing in the NL East. When you have the Braves in first place, the Marlins getting off to a fast start, the Phillies adding Joe Girardi and having Bryce Harper as well. So it's a very competitive NL East, and as I mentioned before, the Braves are just have a one-game lead over everyone else in the division. So it's going to be very difficult for the Nationals to defend their World Series crown. And even if they do win the NL East, the Dodgers have the best record in the National League. And if they do make it to the World Series, it's more likely the New York Yankees are going to represent the American League because they have the best record in all of baseball. And Garrett Cole, who they acquired from the Houston Astros, is probably going to win Cy Young this year. So it's going to be very challenging for the Nationals, even if they do win the NL East.
Well, I can tell you right now what the what Major League Baseball would love to see another Yankees-Dodgers series. And it's funny because throughout the history of baseball, I think those two teams have played more often than any two combatants in postseason. Let's go ahead here and pop up again comments from Facebook Live. Donna Jones shouting out. She says, unfortunately, Strasburger is on the DL. That's right, and that's going to slow them down. That's going to slow them down as well. So we're going to be looking forward to more good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, Brian, tell people how they can find out more about you and all the good things you're doing on your various platforms.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on popculture.com /sports. I'm the trending sports writer for popculture.com. We cover all sports. We're doing a lot of NFL and college football as they prepare for the 2020 season amid the COVID-19 pandemic, talking a lot about baseball, a little bit of basketball as well, and some pro wrestling mixed in. So you should check out popculture.com /sports. And for any trending or entertainment news, be sure to check out popculture.com. You can also find me on Twitter as @BrianJones_PC. I actually just posted a story I did for popculture.com talking to actor Alan Maldonado. He's in a new pro wrestling TV series, which is called Heels, so be sure to read that. And also, I do a podcast called Always Football Season. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio. Currently, I'm doing previewing each NFL division, and the next one I'll do the NFC North. And so you can check that out. And also have a Facebook page for the podcast, facebook.com /Always Football Season.
I'll tell you right now, Brian Jones, you are a busy man and a bad man.
I try to be.
Listen, Brian, man, we appreciate you for coming on and joining us here, taking time on your busy schedule. We look forward to having you back on again real soon.
Always a pleasure, Jonathan. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. Take care, Brian. That's Brian Jones. Like I said, the guy is well-rounded. You can see he's in the middle of everything. Check him out, as he mentioned, Brian L. Jones, and other spots where you can find him as well. Well, you also know, guys, you can find out everything that's going on about the world of sports, but you have to take a time out right here. And we got to take a break. But when we come back, we'll be talking some basketball. The NBA bubble shifts into playoff gear. We'll be back with more on the Real Talk Sports Show, broadcasting to you live from the Lockdown Living Room. Keep it locked right here. Stay tuned.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. Thank God for those of you who are watching us on any portal that we got going out there. As you know, we're broadcasting to you live on Facebook, those of you who have tuned in here. Appreciate all of those of you who are watching us both live and via the archive and replay on Periscope, which is aka Twitter TV. We also appreciate those of you who are watching us either live or via the on demand on YouTube as well. We thank God for each and every one of you. And of course, we got to give a big shout out to the listeners on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. Our Crackerjack producer, Minister Eli Smith, holding it down. One of the great gospel DJs in the nation. Check him out 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. to noontime every day, Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesday, for great gospel music, both new and old, school and new school, but he brings it to you in great inspiration each and every morning. Speaking of inspiration, here's a young guy that has been doing big things in the world of sports, especially basketball. He has taken himself from being just a guy that was occasionally popping in there on various sports shows, but now, after leaving 92.9 The Game, the flagship station for the Hawks, you can see him everywhere. He's been on TV in Detroit, he's been on TV in other markets, and he now has his own show as well. We welcome back the one and only basketball savant, Mr. Deshaun Tate is in the building. Sir, what's happening?
Man, what's going on, Rev? I appreciate you for having me on today, man. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm trying to think of a better analogy than that for a person who's super duper excited and stoked and just pumped up for basketball to be back, and not just back but to actually have basketball during the summer for games that actually count beyond summer league. So I'm in a really good space right now.
How about that, man? We are definitely, I know you got to be hyped. NBA now moving into the playoff division. Talk to us about some of the matchups early on that you're going to be looking at in the NBA.
Well, for me, probably all of them. I don't think that would really surprise anybody necessarily. The big one, obviously, in the nightcap tonight is the number 8 seed Portland Trailblazers and the number 1 seeded Los Angeles Lakers, who, you know, I think that one particularly is going to be really intriguing, not just because of the simple fact that, you know, the job that the Portland Trail Blazers have done so far, leading all the way up to this point, led by arguably or inarguably the bubble MVP and Damian Lillard, and obviously having a dominant and dynamic backcourt duo between he and CJ McCollum, but even more so different implications on it. We saw earlier tonight the Orlando Magic take care of business. I guess they didn't have to travel very far for their game. They came away with a win against the number 1 seed in the Milwaukee Bucks. So that made it a little bit more interesting and intriguing within itself. This particular matchup between the Lakers and the Blazers, I see the Lakers being a really big team where you have, you know, Dwight Howard coming off the bench at about 7 feet. Same thing with Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee. By the way, you know, LeBron James and Kyle Kuzma's no small fries themselves. And it kind of has you kind of concerned if you're a team like Portland, but Portland has to do a good job at putting the bigs for the Lakers in pick and roll situations. And I think if they're able to do that, they can make it a really interesting, you know, series within itself.
No doubt, man. I think it's going to be hype. It is obviously a bit of an interesting thing that Orlando has come out and won the first game. It always makes it interesting when underdog, you'll kind of shake up the world in that first game as well. So now let's talk a little bit about the team that didn't make it. Everybody threw out the crying towel as the team that went 8-0. The Phoenix Suns stayed at home. And Devin Booker, who was probably behind Damian Lillard, one of the most exciting guys out there in the bubble. What do you think about that? And going forward, how do you think Phoenix is going to continue to acquit themselves?
Well, the future definitely looks bright for those guys, and I mean expectedly so. They didn't come in this thing with a really good chance to do what they did. I think the percentages for that happening was very, very low. And that just goes to show when playoff time comes around, this thing has really had something of a similar feel to what March Madness we typically see within it. So for the people who didn't get a chance like me, who was looking forward to March Madness a lot and didn't get that chance, I guess you're getting it on this way around. But when you start looking at the Phoenix Suns, who I've always kind of since being a kid, I'm a bad boy at heart in the Detroit Pistons, but I've always kind of had a soft spot for whatever reason since like 93, 94 for the Phoenix Suns, and really haven't had an outstanding team minus the Steve Nash era. But this team looks like that it's definitely growing. It's not just Devin Booker. I think that, we're starting to really see guys like DeAndre Ayton kind of come into his own. Mikal Bridges is another huge piece for that team. And I mean, they've definitely got some pieces, but they're going to need a little bit more as we look forward to the draft lottery within the next couple of nights and hopefully see what pieces they need to kind of complete it to make a run so that they're not in the same position 365 days from now.
There's no doubt, man. I mean, it's going to be interesting. And I think, again, the biggest thing is seeing what this playoff's going to do and just see if people can get more engaged. Now, I know, here's the thing, folks. We're going to let Deshaun go in about 3 or 4 minutes because right now he's jonesing bad.
Take your time.
Right, because the games are actually on right now. Just so
Take your time,
know.
Rev. Anything for the Rev, brother.
So our man is like, oh, please, Rev, I got to get back to the situation. Come on. We actually, there's a lot of great stuff that's going on in the league. And even though, to me, when I watch it, again, my OG stats is coming through again. It looks like I'm watching a video game. I got to keep it real. The younger cats, especially millennials, they're like, dude, this is like heaven because I got what I normally playing on, and NBA 2K20. It's like the real situation. The real thing is there. So I guess we're all going to have to get used to the artificial fans, the cardboard guys. So yeah, definitely cool stuff. And I am going to be checking to see kind of what the outcome is. Everybody obviously looking for the Lakers to pull it off, but I don't know, man. If not the Lakers, who would be the two things? Your number 2 team and a dark horse team that could shock the world.
Well, when you're talking about the Lakers, I mean, they're just one of those teams. I really believe that they're playing for something much bigger and obviously, memorializing the life of Kobe Bryant. I think that this is somewhat of a dedication to that. But I mean, they're going to have their hands full. A lot of people talking about their struggles outside of LeBron James, who made some comments earlier over the course of the last week or two about how this team has off the floor issues to an extent. And while that may be the case, who is that third scorer for them? Is that Kyle Kuzma? Who is that? They're losing 2 guys in the backcourt, especially defensive purposes, between Avery Bradley and Rajon Rondo. And then I guess even more so, as much as they've been struggling, they're a team that I would not count out, especially having arguably the best player in the world like LeBron James on it. But even more so, they can flip the switch so quickly and then look like the team that everybody saw all season. But if you're looking for a dark horse, I mean, granted, you do have, 5, 6, 4th or 5th seeded. The Houston Rockets are going to go out there with a high-powered offense, maybe not play a lot of defense, but they're going to be firing away on all cylinders with high-volume jump shooting. As soon as they get Russell Westbrook back in the event that they win this series against the Oklahoma City Thunder, being up right around 20 points right now. But, that they are that team. They don't have a center. The biggest guy on the floor probably is James Harden, probably. But outside of that, it's going to really look like Big 12 football or Pac-12 football with all of the offensive firepower. And, I mean, the Toronto Raptors are really good. They're going to, put together a really nice stint and string of games. The Boston Celtics are right there. I mean, anybody in the West at this point, I think is going to be really tough to count anybody out. It's like I said, the thing I love about it the best is the fact that, there is no true home court advantages here. It's a neutral site. And that's probably the thing that I love about it the best, because there is no traveling fatigue. There is no traveling exhaustion. So there won't be any excuses for anybody who won't be holding up the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the day.
Well, no doubt. I want to let you know, sir, that we just gave people a sneak peek on Instagram. So they can't hear you, but for people logging on, we're showing them we're on the big screen. Because those of you who watch us on YouTube, you actually can, stream it on YouTube. I got it on my flat screen. So, buddy, I'm watching you in full glory on a 40-inch screen, just letting everybody know this is what we're going to see down the road. Pretty soon you're going to see Real Talk Sports TV on your local televisions as well as on Instagram and on YouTube. So we had to go ahead and let the folks on the gram see how we look on the big screen, baby. That's how we do it. But yeah, man, we appreciate you and like I said, all the stuff that you got going on and all the stuff that you got happening, man. And it is good to see, basketball just, back in the public conscience, in the public vibe, and to see some activity going on that is, more than just the talk of Lou Williams getting some chicken wings or getting a, a lap dance. Well, excuse me, let me get it straight. A socially distanced practice lap dance. Yeah, we just need to get back to what we really love, which is basketball. I know you love it as well. Now, before we let you go, let's take a look for a quick second here at college basketball. What has been the news you've been hearing from NCAA? Because college football looking crazy.
Yeah, I know, man. I was going to say all these different platforms you had, I guess it's a good thing that I shaved my head. As far as college basketball,
be looking good. Come on, man.
As far as college basketball goes, I know that there's been a lot of conversation in regards to whether they will play inside of a bubble or not. If only conference games will be played and not non-conference games, postponed, that is. So it looked like it might be very similar to the way the SEC or ACC and other conferences are planning to play their football games still in the event that happens. I know Dave Gavitt came out and had some really interesting comments about college basketball this year and the state that it's in, the landscape of the whole sport in general. Just kind of saying we're not going to promise anything, but we are going to keep our fingers and our toes crossed, and hopefully we'll be able to cross this bridge. And we're still really working on a solution because of the COVID-19 and everything that's going on within it. But listen, at some point we're going to have to play sports. I mean, I'm not trying to be the person to go out there and say put people's lives at risk and so forth. But if I'm just being honest, just like anything else in life, we're going to have to play sports. Life is going to have to go on, and we're going to have to keep, and I know you'll enjoy this, we'll have to keep our faith in the person who controls everything every day anyway, So I don't want to preach too much, but I'll leave that up to you. But what I will say is that outside of that fact, I know that the NBA lottery is going to be taking place on Thursday night. That definitely goes hand in hand with college basketball because 60 young men will have the opportunity to hear their names called really, really soon at some point. I think right around October after the finals or somewhere right shortly after the finals. So that does tie into college basketball within itself, but I'm just really looking forward to finding out who's going to be picking where, because on Thursday night we will find at least that much out about the Atlanta Hawks amongst 29 of organizations.
No doubt, man. I think it's going to be great stuff, and we're excited to just, like you said again, see us get back some kind of normalcy. We're going to be making some announcements next week about us slowly getting back out into the fray, covering live sports. So we'll be breaking the news for you shortly, letting you know what's happening with the Real Talk Sports Channel. I know, brother, you always will have some good news for us. And in that regard, how can people find out more about you and follow what you got going on?
There's only one place, man. At Tate's Take Hoops on the Twitter as well as on the IG. TATESTAKEHOOPS, where basketball lives. Got what I like to call the best, the most entertaining, the most informational, and the most educational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast that you can find anywhere that you find your favorite podcast, that being iTunes, that being Spotify, that being Google Podcast, that being Red Circle, that being Stitcher also. So if you got the iPhone and you don't have the Android, or you got the Android and you don't have the iPhone, there's no excuses for you. We're also streaming the Tate's Take podcast as well on YouTube. You can find that on Tate's Take, TATE *S TAKE. And of course, as always, per usual, where basketball lives.
That's what I'm talking about.
I want to throw one more thing out
Go
there
ahead.
to you. And I know we kind of up against it and not much time, but I am actually launching something new on tonight, which is the Final Buzzer with Deshaun Tate. So it is about 10-15 minute recap each night after the playoffs of the games that took place on that day. Just to give people a little bit of an insight of what they may have missed. So you can always look forward to that. That'll be taking place between either at midnight or 15 minutes after the final buzzer of the last game of the night. So if you need to, take it out sometime, you got to get the kids put to bed or give them a bath or help them with the homework or just whatever the case is that you may have to do in your personal life. 12 midnight and or 15 minutes after the last game ends, you can check out the final buzzer with Deshaun Tate. That's going to be on Facebook as well as YouTube. So be sure to check that out.
Oh, after midnight. Sounds like it's going to go down with Deshaun Tate. Listen, man, again, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. And, bro, the lockdown living room was never locked down for you.
Nah, never that, man. I appreciate it. And I'm thankful for everything that you're doing. And you've been a huge inspiration for me and my brand and my movement that I have going on. Tons of positivity. And you've been in this game for a long time. So I'm just overly grateful, thankful, and appreciative for everything that you've done, including bringing me on to be a part of your program.
I guess I got to send him a check now. All right, but listen, man, we appreciate you so much. God bless you. Like I said, man, enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you much.
That was Deshaun Tate from Tate Sports, our own basketball savant, doing some big things in the world of sports, especially basketball. But listen, guys, keep it locked right here. We're going to take a quick little station break. But you know what's coming up next? College football. And we're going to bring somebody from the inside of Georgia Football Nation. But to find out who that is, you got to keep it locked right here on the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast to you on every platform, including WIGO 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. Keep it locked right here for more.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here in the building, in the lockdown living room, as we are broadcasting you from multiple platforms. Big shout out to everyone everywhere. First of all, for those of you on Facebook Live, appreciate you very much for joining us, either live or whatever group page you're watching this on demand. Thank God for those of you who are watching us both live and on the replay on Periscope, which is aka Twitter TV. Thank you for those of you watching on YouTube TV, either live or on demand. And of course, to those listening on WIGO 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio, on WIGOAM.com, and on the free TuneIn Radio app. I'm telling you, boys, the Real Talk Sports Show is everywhere we can be. Well, we shift gears now, talking a little college football, and it has been topsy-turvy, especially as conferences drop off. Other conferences say, we'll take what you got. So we're going to talk to a lady who covers a team from the biggest, baddest conference in the land, from the SEC. She has a wonderful Facebook page called The Ultimate Dog Nation. Iris Fembro Cotta is back in the building.
Hey,
what's
guys.
Going on, Iris?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, listen, good to have you back.
God, it's a lot. I mean, oh, thank you. Yeah, you know what? Last week I worked one of the polls. It was pretty interesting. I wanted to see what that process was like before we get out here to vote, because there's been a lot of chatter about mailing in your vote, and so I just wanted to see what Georgia had in store for us, and it seemed like it was pretty safe, secure to me. It was the secure voting, and even after you guys leave from voting, I saw the process after that. So it's kind of hard still a vote in Georgia is what I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Well, certainly that is phenomenal news. Phenomenal news, because again, as we know, the Democratic National Convention is going on right now, and politics is part of what we're going through with this whole pandemic, and of course the protests that we've had, and of course we see watching the NBA and WNBA that the players are fully engaged in making sure that we have the names of people who sadly have lost their life due to police violence. So politics is very, very big, and it's going to be big as we continue to go forward.
Yeah.
Speaking of politics, we have some nasty infighting amongst the Big Five. 2 out, 3 are still in. So talk to us a little bit, Iris, about your feelings about the Big Ten, Pac-12 gone, but the SEC, Big 12, and others remaining, especially the SEC.
Okay, so here's my deal. Now I know that two of them are going. Now with the Pac-12, that's a whole different thing. So I can understand why they bailed out. I mean, you had players left and right wanting to get out. You had even the states that they play in shutting down all in-class schools. So it would have made it very hard for them to even have a team. I mean, have games in the Pac-12. Big Ten is a whole different story. And so with that, what it all came down to was the fact that there's this virus that you can get. Well, I'm sorry. If you have a virus, there's a cardiac ailment you can develop. Sometimes, if you have recovered from a virus, it's called the I had the name of it, myocarditis.
Okay.
And so that was the reason why the Big Ten shut it down, because they were afraid that a student will end up with myocarditis and could possibly, because if you have that kind of condition, you're not supposed to engage in any kind of strenuous activity at all. And so that was why, and it's only for a short period of time, like maybe 3 to 6 months, so it's not your entire life. So that was kind of the buzz, is what I heard, is the reason why they shut it down. You may want to get a doctor on here to tell you more about that. The information that I'm getting straight from the internet. I looked up myocarditis, but from what I could tell, with the SEC was the first one to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we know about that condition. We've consulted all our doctors, and everyone said they're good to go. So it kind of makes you kind of wonder, one doctor saying this, other doctor saying that. I don't even know the politics behind this either. I don't know if it was more of a push because they were with the Big Ten, that they don't want to take any type of liability or expose themselves to any type of liability if someone were to get hurt during coronavirus. My issue with this whole thing is that you shut down football, yet you're still having intramural sports on campus. You didn't shut down the campuses at school. So the students will still be there. The football players will still be there. So I don't understand the whole thing. Now with the SEC, of course, like with any of the conferences, they take their information from the commissioner, and from Greg Sankey was like, you know what, guys, we have a really good program in place. We put some things in place way back in March, so
Wow.
you guys should be okay. And then of course, then ACC followed in the Big 12, but yeah, that whole thing is kind of weird. We'll see if we'll get a season in. I mean, that's to be determined, right? NBA is
Right.
having the playoffs right now, so they did get that far. So, I'm not sure about that part. I do know that until the season is actually officially canceled, then you have to act as if it's still going to happen.
Well, no doubt. Speaking of that,
So,
we're going to be making announcements
here.
about our own live coverage. Real Talk Sports Show is going to
Oh,
look
good.
to ease itself out into the public. We are right now in the final stage of putting together a plan that we can do some live streaming of some sporting events. And a little over the next week, we'll make the formal announcement about what we're going to do and how you can find us. And also, we have scheduled, I've invited one of the Georgia State Nurses Association group to come on with us next week, because it is the week before football season. At this point, it's supposed to start in Georgia. For those that don't know, the first week of September, the GHSA, which is in fact the Georgia High School Sports Association, they have said that football will be played in the state of Georgia. The first games will be starting the first week of September. So we look forward to being a part of that and bringing you some coverage on that as well. So again, we expect some great stuff. Well, listen, tell us really quickly, Iris, 'cause I know you're on a compressed schedule. What kind of is the rumblings from University of Georgia? What are we looking at as far as the state of mind there?
They're excited about their team. Kirby Smart said that the offense was taken to Monken's playing faster than expected. So that's a good thing. He mentioned on Sunday during his presser before. Well, they began practicing just with not full. Well, actually, it is full practice, but just with pads, not the full, gear on this week. But he did mention some injuries, and some of them kind of scared me at first until he kind of explained them all. So there was an issue with Jamie Newman beginning of their voluntary practices back in June. He had a foot sprain, but he started practicing already. DJ Daniels, the JUCO kid who came over, he's actually a senior now on defense. He missed some time earlier this early practice as well, but he's already practicing. Now, JT Daniels hasn't been cleared to play yet. So,
Wow.
there was a question. Yes, he hasn't been cleared from his ACL tear. So, with all the buzz going on about if JT Daniels or Jamie Newman would be the starting quarterback, they kind of put a lot of that to rest when that was mentioned on Sunday that he's not cleared at all. So, but Smart did mention that the other quarterbacks are doing well. As a matter of fact, he said that what's the guy's name? Dwayne Mathis has really excelled more so than they thought he would. So he may give Jamie Newman some competition there. And there were some other issues too with some of the freshmen that came over. The biggest of which was Keely Ringo, who is out indefinitely. Now, he actually suffered an injury in high school that wasn't properly taken care of. So Georgia, they actually ended up it was on his labrum. And so Georgia actually had to do surgery on his, it was a labral tear, and he will probably not be, he'll probably sit out this year. The other guys, Darnell Washington had a knee scope that from an injury he had in high school, but he's already practicing. That's over with. Broderick Jones, you may have known, he had I think it was a little motorcycle or one of those off-road vehicle accidents back in the summer. He's healed from that. He's at practice. Monty Rice had a foot injury, and I think he said that he was going to start practicing today. I haven't been able to get any clearance on that. And Arian Smith, all these are freshmen, I'm telling you. Except for Monty Rice, of course. Arian Smith had a meniscus tear, and he'll be back sometime this season, but he hadn't started practicing yet this year. So that's what's going on with the Dogs. They went to this 10-game season, and people all up in arms with the season. The schedule. But you're playing 10 teams from the SEC, so you're not going to have too many easy weeks here and there anyway. So that's kind of where it is. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention, here's the other thing that the Dogs are all barking about, and I take a different stance to this, but they were all excited about this. So Cade Mays, who was a 5-star recruit for the 2018 class, I believe it was 2018, he was one of the starting offensive linemen last year. So he transferred to Tennessee, and he requested for immediate eligibility, citing some I'm not even going to get into what he cited, but it was kind of ridiculous in itself. At any rate, these are still kids, and so you only wish the best for them, even though they may not represent your team anymore. So the NCAA denied his immediate eligibility today, so all the Dogs are barking about that. They're all excited about that. So, because they thought that the reason why he wanted early eligibility was kind of ridiculous. But anyway.
Well, as always, inside scoop from what's happening in UGA. I always tell people how they can find out more about you and the Ultimate Dog Nation.
Of course, yes. You can find me. I try to put my name, my group next to my name. So you just Google the Ultimate Dog Nation. You'll find us on Facebook. We have a page and a group. You definitely want to join the group. The page is kind of setting up everything for you to join the group. You know what? And we actually, Jonathan, now, way back March, whatever, we got some old dogs to join the group. Now we got some current dogs in that group. So
All right.
you may want to join that group. Yeah, that's all I'm telling you. You may want to join that group because it's heating up in there. So yeah,
Well, there you go, guys.
that's
The
what's
latest
going
and
on.
greatest from the University of Georgia football team. Always, as we appreciate our insider, Iris Fambro Carter from the Ultimate Dog Nation. Again,
Yes.
like their page and follow their group because there's a lot of great stuff going on. Former dogs like
Yeah.
Quincy Carter and several other guys are on there. They interact. So if you want to kind of touch base with some of your
Cheers.
former dog heroes, that is the spot. Well, Iris, listen, we appreciate you. And now y'all may not know, but Iris is a very smart woman. So she's gonna make some announcements coming up, telling you what she's been doing in the world of educational field. But we appreciate her taking a little time out to join. She was like, she said, see, you guys don't know, off camera, she's like she's saying, really sending me like psychic messages, like, I'm gonna get you, Jonathan Simmons.
Oh
But
no, please don't.
we want to salute you though, because
Okay.
again, education is very, very
Thank
important, and
you.
we thank God that you continue to press forward and do some great things. Well, listen, Iris, on behalf of everybody here at WIGO and the Real Talk Sports Show, good luck, God bless, and see you real soon.
Thank you.
Bye bye. That's Iris Fambro Carter talking a little bit about the dogs and what's happening. Speaking of what's happening, guys, we're going to talk some NFL football. So don't go nowhere. Those of you who listen to WIGO, we got about 5 more minutes with you. But those on social media, we got plenty of time with you because you know who we're bringing on? Well, you got to keep it locked right here on the Real Talk Sports Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
All right, everybody, we're back here on the Real Talk Sports Show. You may remember Mr. Jonathan Simmons here hosting the show. And yes, for those of you who are not certain, yeah, I am in fact a real licensed minister, have been for a few years now, but the Lord has saw fit that I can talk to you a little bit of sports. And if I'm going to talk sports, I like to get people who really know what is going on the inside. This next gentleman come out is an award-winning sports writer with the AJC here in Atlanta, the premier paper. He also has the premier spot as the embedded sports writer for the Atlanta Falcons. The one and only Esquire par excellence, Mr. D. Orlando Ledbetter, is in the building. D. Led, what's going on, sir?
Hey, Reverend Simmons, doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on Real Talk Sports once again.
Okay, speaking of this, now, for those of you who don't know D. Led, you need to go ahead and check out his various pages because this is a man that knows all about sartorial splendor. So not only is he rocking the lightweight fedora, but he has the official African King's robe on. I feel you, D-Led. Always good to be the king.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's fits right now these times to go ahead and bring out the dashiki and make another statement about Black Lives Matter.
Amen. Amen. Well, like I said, we're also, for those of you I know who are doing some multitasking, obviously the Democratic National Convention is on right now as we speak. So it's virtual, but already some shots have been fired. And in the campaign, and we won't talk about that today because we're going to do some sports, but a lot of great stuff is going on, and it's going to be very, very interesting going forward to see how this whole election plays out, and hopefully there will be no tomfoolery as we go forward for sure. But either Falcons, now it looks like I see some helmets on. I haven't seen pads yet. What's been going up at Flowery Branch for our Atlanta Falcons?
Well, today, Reverend, was the first padded practice. We saw them line up in a little scrimmaging activity. Real simple stuff. It's not full speed yet. Todd Gurley did not practice today. It was his scheduled regularly scheduled day off. According to the team, Alex Mack also didn't practice with the first team offense, but Julio and Matt Ryan, you can see them working out, getting their things together. AJ Terrell's looking pretty good over there at cornerback. So, yeah, we're seeing the first steps toward, what we hope to be a football season.
Well, speaking of Terrell, he gave the Falcons fans a burst of excitement The Falcons played their YouTube clip of him making that interception with Matt going up and kind of spinning in midair. So that he looked pretty good, D-Led.
Yeah, no question about it. Just remember, it's a team published highlight film. They're not showing the bad plays, so it's the highlight film. So he did a good job on that play, but there were some other plays too that he shows that he's got to keep improving. But he definitely has a high ceiling, and it was a spectacular catch.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and that's why we're always so excited, man, that you come on the show, because we want to give people a real look at what's going on behind the scenes. And since you're there, you can kind of tell us, hey, listen, like you said, it's a highlight, but he's still got some work. Speaking of got some work, who are some of the other guys have you seen so far? And again, I know it's extremely early. What have you seen so far that's given us some hope for the future?
Well, I've been. You always start with the line early in camp. I was taught that by Bob McGinn, who's a long-time writer covering the Packers for decades. So I've been focusing on the offensive line and the defensive line. I've done a little bit more work on the offensive line, looking at when Mac was out today. Justin Murray was in for him. They're playing Matt Gano at left guard, where the competition is, and then Lindstrom and McGarry at right guard and right tackle, and then Jake Matthews at left tackle. So, excuse me, Reverend. Sorry about that. But yeah, the line is a big key for this team here, and they're looking in unison here early on, and that's a good sign. Defensively, the defensive line, Charles Harris is who I'm focusing in on, because we kind of know it's going to be Grady, Marlon Davidson, Dante Fowler, and Tackle Kinley. So I'll study those ends at some point here. But Charles Harris is the guy that's got to take over those 439 snaps that Adrian Claiborne had last season. So him or Stephen Means. So we know the front line looks pretty good. On the back line, can Deidre Sanat beat out John Kaminsky? You got Alan Bailey and Taylor Davidson in there. And so, that's a group of 9 or 10 guys that you want to get a rotation from that could stop the run. And then the dream scenario for the Falcons is that after they stop the run, they go sack the quarterback more than 28 times.
Yeah, how about that? Well, speaking of sack, we're going to have to sack the fans that are watching and listening to us, I should say, on WIGO, because our hour there is already about up. Well, listen, we want to give a big shout out and kudos to all those of you who have been listening to WIGO AM 1570, also online at WIGOAM.com, and also on the free TuneIn Radio app. We appreciate you so much. Also, a big shout out to our producer holding it down back in the studio, Eli Smith. Eli always doing a good job helping us out there, making sure that we're on point at all times. So Eli, we appreciate you. And again, guys, if you want to get some great gospel music programming, check Mr. Smith out every weekday morning, 9 a.m. to 12 noon, with the exception of Wednesdays. And check him out. He does great gospel music, everything from old school traditional gospel to the latest and greatest that's going on right now as well. Also, big shout out to Kevin Buchanan. He is our all-around management personnel at the station. He is our station manager, program director, and does a great job in making sure that everything runs smoothly. So big shout out to him as well. Everybody, WIGO, we always encourage you to get to know our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you don't know him today, ma'am, please, sir, get to know him, because nobody, absolutely nobody loves you like Jesus, who is the Christ. Until the next time, you can check us out on WIGO. We say as we do each and every night. God bless you and have a great night. So long now. I want to give again these kudos and shout out to those of you who have been watching us on the Periscope live. Also, shout out to those of you who are watching the replay on Periscope, and those who are watching on demand and live on YouTube TV. D-Led, we got a chance to take a look at ourselves because YouTube can stream on your television, and we look pretty good there on that 40-inch screen there, D-Led. We look like we got a little something going on. So let's get back to our Atlanta Falcons and kind of what we're looking at. So again, you talked about the line. Talk to us a little bit about Kaminsky, because that's a guy that kind of had some buzz going on last year. How does he look, and what do you think the prospects are for him going forward to make an impact on this defensive line?
Be able to hold up in the trenches. I think the key for a guy like him is can he hold up? He hasn't been in the playing against this level of competition. We saw him get injured a little bit last year. We want to see him stack a good game after one game to the next, and so they're going to try to get him in there and see if he can help inside at tackle, especially in rushing situations. So he looks pretty good so far, but yeah, you just got to see him build on the days and making that jump from Division II Charleston in Ohio, West Virginia. I mean, to the NFL, that's a pretty big leap he's trying to make.
No doubt. Physically, does he look any bigger this year? I know a lot of times these guys make that transition. How's he look?
Yeah, he's pretty. He's hit the weight room. He wasn't one of the guys that was sitting around eating honey buns this offseason. He was hitting the weights. He looked real sturdy, and looks like he's ready to get in there and mix it up.
Well, I think it's going to be the key, as you mentioned, the line play, especially can they bring some heat on the quarterback. Who do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for the Falcons? If we look at the NFC South, which team do you think is going to give them the most trouble?
Well, I'm thinking it's the Saints again. The Falcons' schedule is such that they won't see 5 of their games until the second half of the season. So they got Carolina, I think, in the 5th game at Mercedes-Benz. That would be their first one. But the first 7 games or 8 games, they only see one of their top foes. So if they're 1-7 by then, it won't matter, like last year. So they got to get off to a great start. We don't need to even look at the South right now. You got to look at going into taking on Seattle, going to Dallas, taking on Chicago, going to Green Bay. Then Carolina's in there. So, you can't go 1-4 like you did 2 years ago or 1-7 like last year to even make the NFC South mean anything. So it's all about getting off to a good start, and we need to look at the schedule. We need to play the schedule and not the division right now, because they won't even get to the division like last year. They'll be playing for, second, third place and not going to playoffs like that last game against Tampa Bay last year.
Well, no doubt the Falcons are going to need to come out with a fast start. This team has been plagued over the years with inconsistency, so we're going to need them to jump out of the box very, very quickly and get off to a strong start. Offensively, everybody's buzzing about Falcons' potential again. What do you think? I know, again, it's early on, but what have you seen as far as synergy in the camp?
I like what I see out of the backfield. They're trying to run the outside zone. I've been seeing a lot of inside zone, though, and I don't see the stretch runs that Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman ran with Kyle Shanahan. They're still trying to toss the ball out there. The running game's got to go, and running inside zone up the middle with the little bitty backs is not. That's not where they're going to win at. So it's not looking good and promising to me right now. But they got time to get better.
T-Led, you kind of just threw some cold water on Falcons fans everywhere, sir. Matt Ryan, I know, again, how does he look so far in practice? Sharp, dull?
Well, I learned in his first year, and Coach Bill Musgrave, helped teach me that after he threw a couple bad balls, and myself and Steve Weiss were ready to pounce on that. He's like, hey, man, that's going to happen. He's going to have some misfires here early. I haven't seen that this year. He's been pretty sharp. He's done that regimen. He goes out to California with Tom House, and they come out and do all these arm warm-ups and arm swirls and gets real loose and limber. So I don't see them the really bad throws that you used to see early on in the training camp. He's game ready. He knows where the ball's going to go. He doesn't need this training camp stuff other than to get the timing down with Julio and so forth. So that's a good sign. Now, if they can keep him upright so he can do his thing, that's that's the key to the offense right now.
And speaking of that, how important is it going to be for Todd Gurley to have an impact? I'm not on this offense in 2020.
Well, it's going to be a big deal, Reverend Simmons. You want him to be a threat, whether he's running downhill, making one cut, or they're throwing it to him. We saw a lot of today 4 and 5 receiver formations with the running backs flanked outside. And I'm thinking, some of that action is going to be for him. They were throwing some balls to the screen and to the outside, to the perimeter, to stretch people out and attack the whole field. And he's going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, I think that if they use him, I don't say more, but I think they use him somewhat more in the passing game. In his current state, he might be more dangerous, coming out of that backfield. Especially if you can get him up there around 40 or 50 catches, or more like what Devontae had. Yeah, because in the open field, yeah, he's a load to try to bring down.
Oh yeah, no question about it. And I think Devontae's first year, where he was kind of the third down back behind Steven Jackson, and I think he had almost 70 catches that year. Gurley can take that workload, and maybe he's not running the ball 30 times a game. Well, he's not going to be running the ball 30 times a game. I'm thinking he's going to maybe run 15 and get 5 catches, and that'll be a good way to manage his load. They're definitely going to try to load manage him and not overloading. But sometimes you get in the heat of the battle and you got to, let him tote the rock, and hopefully he's able to hold up under that pressure.
Well, if we take a look at Devontae's season when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, I pulled up here the stats here from footballreference.com. When the Falcons went to the Super Bowl in 2016, Devontae obviously had a premier year going to the Pro Bowl. He had 227 attempts on the ground, over 1,000 yards, almost 1,100 yards, but more importantly, he also had 65 targets and 54 receptions. So if we could get Todd Gurley to have somewhere around 200 touches as a running back and get him 50 receptions, I think the Falcons could be a handful.
Yeah, no doubt. That's 250. That's still that's a pretty decent workload, but not nothing crazy. So 20 divide that by 16. That's a little bit over. Somewhere between 13, 15 carries a game. 54 catches divided by 16. Same thing, about 4 or 5 catches a game. So hey, that's gonna keep. And while he's getting that work done, guess who else is free for some work?
Right.
Number 11. So,
yep.
If you can get him that much work, you can start play action off of that. And 11 is going to be open, or triple or double covered. Then number 18 should be open. And then the new tight end should, you got, what the running game goes, everything opens up the offense.
No doubt about it. So let's take a look. You just mentioned number 11, Julio Jones. How has Julio looked in camp? A lot of times Julio, starts off a little slow, but how's he look so far?
He looks great. He's catching passes and turning them upfield and running the whole distance, getting himself into shape. Not trying to overturn it on the overburners, but he is getting his work in. And I saw him doing that diligently today. He catch a short out pattern, get past the D-back, and then just keep on running up the field 80, 90 yards to get his work in. So that's how a lot of the wide receivers do it. I saw, that's how Jerry Rice used to get his yards after the catch in practice, and then he'd take that right to the game. And we've seen Julio do that. That's looked very good for the offense.
How about Calvin Ridley? He's been talking a lot about he's a 1,000-yard receiver. How's he look early on?
Yeah, he's been having a little bit of trouble. I don't know if the balls have been missing him, but Terrell's been doing a good job on him. But I don't have any problem with he's going to be covered. He's going to be open, and the ball's going to be close by. And he's going to catch it. So don't want to put too much stock in how he's looking to me early in camp. But yeah, him He's not on the same level as Julio right now, and Gage is not either. Gage had a drop on the simple crossing route, but that's why they're at practice right now to iron out these kinks.
Now, speaking of Gage, who would be a good third receiver that we can kind of keep our eyes on?
Yeah, it's Gage, but Laquan Treadwell, remember him, the old Mississippi wideout, was having a great career over there in Oxford until he got snatched back in that Auburn game. Still went to Minnesota as a first round pick, but didn't have the speed that he had coming out of high school out of Chicago area and then coming down to Ole Miss. But the Falcons like the fact that he's a big target and he's got good hands, Trevor. And they have they had Justin Hardy in that fourth receiver role, and he got 30 targets a year for the last 4 years. He had 9 touchdowns. They like looking for that receiver in their red zone package. So I mean, Laquan could be one of those guys that catch 4 passes for 12 yards and a touchdown. One of those guys that they can use to go against the smaller defensive back and shield his body and use his hands. He's got great hands. So he's not going to run past anybody, but you can set him down and throw him the ball and be confident that he's going to execute the play.
Yeah, physically he's an imposing specimen. I mean, he's not a small man. So speaking of that, do you think he can morph into the role that Mohamed Sanu gave you over the last couple of years?
No, I think that role is going more to Gage, and they're going to let him do that. And then I think Laquan Treadwell will go more towards the Hardy package. Because Gage is he's the running back. He can do that gadget stuff. When they put him at quarterback, when they put Sanu at quarterback, Gage can do that. And so, fake the run and keep it, pick up the first down, be the check down guy inside on third down. But they're counting on him to do that. And if he can, maybe Laquan could beat him out and take some of his action.
And how about the hands on Gage? I mean, you mentioned the drops, and certainly during games over the last year, we've saw he made some great plays. We also saw some drops. What do you think about his hands overall?
Yeah, I think he's doing great. Matt Ryan's got more confidence in him because when Calvin Ridley went down last year with 3 games to play, Gage had to play, and so Matt had to throw it to him. And you look at those last 3 games, and he didn't hesitate to throw it to him. So his confidence in Gage going into this year is at an all-time high. He was a kid that essentially played jet sweep running back for LSU, and was a special teams maven. They rarely threw him the ball. He's pretty much a running back. So the Falcons think they discovered a talent, and they need to discover young talent so they can pay him on his rookie contract. And he's certainly a kid that they're counting on to come through for him this year at the slot receiver position.
Well, yeah, their offense is, as usual, going to really carry the show to determine how far the Falcons are going to be able to go. Because again, the defense is a big question mark. We just don't know if they can get us any type of middle of the road defense. That's one thing with the Falcons with their offense. I think if the defense can be somewhere in the top 15 or 20, the Falcons are going to be a force to reckon with next year.
Yeah, and the big wild card, Reverend, is can Keanu Neal make it back from Achilles surgery?
Right.
If he makes it back, then you're not talking about a top 15, top 20 defense. You can look at being one of the better defenses in the league at that point. The safety position erases a lot of bad plays, and he's the guy that can do that. If he makes it all the way back from his Achilles surgery, we talked to his doctors last week. We have a story on AJC.com about his recovery and how he went to Miami a month before training camp to start working out with Dr. Sharif Sahib from Athletics, Rehab, and Recovery. So, everything's looking like he might make it back. And if they do, that's a whole different ball game on that defensive side of the ball.
I'm glad you answered that question because I was going to ask you how he's looked when you've seen him so far in the field.
Yeah, in strength condition, everybody was taking it kind of slow. I saw him backpedaling and pushing off. Uh, it wasn't at game speed, but he was working his way back. That's what I saw. And then, and as they went in the pass, he's starting to pick it up, starting to get more confidence. He know where he's supposed to go and his assignment and so forth. He just gotta get to that threshold. And Dr. Saheed talked about this, where he's confident of every step.
Right.
That, one misstep at D-back and it's a touchdown, or it's a missed tackle, or it's an incompletion, or a completion. So he's working through that, and that's just the middle part of coming back from injury.
Well, it's funny. Dr. Shaheed, man, has been getting some big props because of some of the stuff we've seen on Instagram with him, and kind of those comebacks. So Dr. Shaheed might be getting some extra business. And speaking of business, the other safety, the guy who I think a lot of times is the unsung hero for the Falcons defense, Ricardo Allen. How has he looked?
Yeah, Ricardo's looking good. They're working through how they're gonna play him. Raheem Morris said, "Hey, we'll figure out how to get the best players on the field."
Right.
So that says, hey, they might think about playing all three of the safeties at some point. If the situation warrants it. But Demonte Casey looks like he's the number one at free safety, and Ricardo's gonna be available to back him and Neil up. If Neil's not ready to go right away, he can go there. If not, then they got some packages and stuff they can work on and get all of them out there. But yeah, they said, hey, we're not gonna worry about having too many good players. We'll figure out how to play them.
And how meaningful is it that the Falcons have guys at defensive back that are hitters? I mean, Ricardo hits. KZ likes to be around the ball. How important is that?
Oh, that's big because last year that was a problem because you can't hit him if you're not covering him. So gotta cover him up, and KZ has cleaned up his game, or folks aren't calling him a dirty hitter anymore. He's hitting, right at the key points where they want you to hit and so forth. You hit a guy early in the game one time, the next time he's going to be looking around for you. So that's a good intimidation factor to have.
Man, it's not the Falcons again. I don't want to overdo this, but certainly I've been watching all these videos of great teams from years gone by, and they talked about the 49ers when they really began to change in the 80s, and when they had those young guys come in that whole defensive backfield, of course, with the great Ronnie Lott, but all those guys, Dwight Hicks, they all kind of meshed together, and they began to bring the wood. And you never really think about the importance of your defensive backs being able to be, not just cover guys, but good tacklers and occasionally punishing tacklers.
Yeah, no question, especially in the game today, where you got people playing in space. You got a Kamara, you got a McCaffrey. You got guys like that you're gonna have to get to the ground. Being a short tackler is gonna be more important than being the powerful bang hitter. But when you get your shots, you gotta take them. I know they would have to tell Neil, hey, slow down, make sure you get the tackle first. We don't need no whiffs. We don't need any missed tackles. And, so short tackling in space with some power is what they're hoping to have.
No doubt. Well, one thing that people don't want to miss is all the great coverage you provide for the Falcons. So let people know how they can find out more about you and all the coverage you provide for our Atlanta Falcons.
Well, thank you, Reverend. You can go to ajc.com and go to sports and bookmark that Falcons page. Our Facebook page is Atlanta Falcons News Now. And we tweet everything out on Twitter at the Orlando AJC. We've got the Bulltide Chronicles dropping in the morning at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, and the Cover 9 at 9 blog at 9. Our special guest this week is running back Warwick Dunn, who was the running back mate of Jason Wright, the new CEO of the Washington football team. One time Atlanta Falcon and backfield mate of Atlanta Falcon great Warwick Dunn. I'll be on the Bowtie Chronicles podcast Wednesday morning at 8 a.m.
Well, that sounds like great stuff. Work done, a great guy, and really kind of set, I don't say the template, but kind of gives you a good template for players to what can and should be done. Obviously, he was a two-time Man of the Year, not just obviously for his great play, but his off-the-field endeavors, and now, of course, a minority owner of our own Atlanta Falcons. So, yeah, man, it's just good to see these guys, and the fact that you're bringing these guys on, man, kudos to you.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, Reverend Simmons. I certainly appreciate it.
Listen, Dilette, as always, we appreciate you. We know your schedule is jam-packed. Lots of stuff going on now with the camp being up and running. So taking time out with us, man, is always greatly appreciated. And we look forward to having you back real soon.
All right, Reverend, thank you. And I'd love to come back real soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. D. Orlando Ledbetter, he is the embedded beat writer of our Atlanta Falcons. Always does a good job for us, and we appreciate him joining us here on the show. Like I said again, he just is a busy guy, and the fact that he takes time out with us to, come on in here is really very, very appreciative. And we appreciate all those of you who, again, tune in and watch our broadcast. So we're very thankful for that as well. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up a little bit early tonight. We thank God for all those of you who have been watching us here on all of our various platforms, YouTube, Facebook Live, Periscope. Those of you who are listening to the show on WIGOAM.com. Also, those of you who pop into our website, realtalksports.net, and anywhere that you hear this podcast, wherever you're listening or watching, we want to say thank you. Because if it was not for you, we would not be able to continue this show on and continue this show, because you guys really give us great encouragement to persevere. For those of you who are not familiar with the background of this show, I am not a journalism major. I am not a studied TV host. This was something that approximately 13 years ago happened, like something out of a TV movie. I was driving along, going to the store. I happened to tune in on a gospel radio station I stumbled upon, WIGO, and listening for some late night, I shouldn't say late night, but some evening gospel music. And lo and behold, as I was listening, I said, hey, this sounds like a sports show. And sure enough, I was listening to a sports show hosted by Vincent Turner, a guy who has his own great program called 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. Huge Facebook page. They have something like 20,000 followers. And he is literally, we call him Mr. Football because he is the football encyclopedia. Anyway, I called in after a couple of times hearing, hey, call in, phone lines are open. I called in, inspired, I think, by a little nudge from the Lord. And called into the show and was allowed to talk for about 2, 3, 4 minutes, which is unusual for a caller. And as I was hanging up, literally just like off of a TV movie, the engineer, producer said, caller, don't hang up. The show host wants to talk to you. And that was, of course, Vincent Turner. And we had a couple of meetings afterwards to discuss the idea, first of me being a featured caller. And then he said, how about you being on a show? He said, we lease the airtime together, and then we can, hopefully get some sponsors and advertisers and do the show. And 13 years later, here we still are at it now on different platforms, different ways coming across. And really it's because of people who have told me, hey, we've seen your show, Rev, we appreciate the fact that your show is a little different, that you are not afraid to bring in spiritual things and talk about the Lord. We're glad that you bring on athletes and just don't talk about how good they are on the field or on the court, but some of the great things they're doing off the court, the investment they're making back in the community. And so that encouragement really has kept me on the air, because I got to tell you guys, it's an expense to do these shows. And although it's not a large one, it's still an expense. And sometimes we get a great cadre of sponsors and we're looking for more of you to join us here. But sometimes we don't get that same level. And, the show must go on. But again, it's your encouragement. You're stopping me in the supermarket. You're hitting me up on emails. Even some of the comments that you make on social media. All those things encourage me to keep on rolling. And speaking of that, big shout out to Monica Kabler. She's showing some blessings, and we appreciate her. She's doing some great things herself, always has been. Former All-American athlete, great motivational speaker, reaches out to children wherever she goes, so we appreciate her. She's been on the show before, extremely beautiful. Hopefully we'll bring her back on so you guys can see it in person, and so we appreciate her and all the things that she has done for others, but like I said, for this show, because I met her a few years back, and she's always been one of my great encouragers to say, brother, just keep it going, push it on. There's been times where I've been kind of losing steam, but she's been like your little booster saying, come on, brother, you can do it. So I appreciate her and appreciate all the things that, she has done for the program. And we look forward to having her back on real soon. Her schedule is very compressed, but we hope to have her back on in the not too distant future. Like I said, guys, we're here, man. And we're going to announce some news that the Real Talk Sports Show is going to gradually get back out in the public. We believe that we're going to take all the safety protocols that we can. We don't want to be silly about it, but of course we don't want to be fearful because there are things continuing to go on in the world of sports, and we're going to try to bring it to you here on the Real Talk Sports Show. I will tell you, we do have some openings for advertisers. That's right. We have some spots that are going to be opening here where we can actually insert your videos here on this live video telecast. We also have some spots on the radio station we're on to do some radio ads. Even when the show is not on, we got space now available on the station during the weekday to put your ads on. So please, ma'am, please, sir, we would love to have you be a part of our broadcast. We'd love to have you partner with us. You can send me an email, jsimmons@realtalksports.net. That's JSIMMONS at realtalksports.net for the email, or I'll pop it up here on the screen. For those of you who are watching, you can call me on the cell. My cell is 678-410-9833. We would love to have you partner with us so we can go ahead and put your message out on the air. We have packages starting from as little as $50. $50 to get your advertising here on the air. And then, of course, we have packages that, going up to, more than that. But we can custom tailor packages to you. It can be a combination of advertising. We have multiple websites we can put you on with links from your ad. We can do a video ad that we can put on our website. So all kinds of things we can do to allow you to get your message out and partner with a show that brings you sports talk from a different perspective. Now, how cool is that? To know that you can have some fun, have some sports, but talk some issues and some serious items as well. We bring on guys from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We bring on occasionally people from the political world. Next week, we look forward to having some of the officers from the Nurses Association here in Georgia to talk to you about kind of their ground level look at the coronavirus and how it's affected people and how it may or may not affect athletes who are going back out here to play sports. And we also look to bring back on, we're going to hope to have them today. We had a little communication breakdown. We'll look to bring on some people from the world of economics, because one of the things I think, boys and girls, that the next great economic bubble that may collapse is a whole sports marketing bubble. We got all this money tied up. We now have the Disney/ESPN/ABC folks have gobbled up everything, including Fox Sports. So there's very little competition. They have paid an enormous amount of money for TV rights for the various conferences, and really right now, don't get me wrong, the players want to play. I don't want to sit here as an OG, a guy who is whose birthday now begins with a 6, and just act like, hey, these young guys are wrong or insensitive for wanting to play ball. Hey man, let's face it, we all felt we were indestructible, when we were young. Matter of fact, some of us are feeling we're indestructible now when we know we're not. But I'm saying especially then when you're in the prime of life, or when all of your vitality is with you, and when in fact you feel that it would be very easy for you to recover from the coronavirus even if you got it. It ain't going to kill you. And that you have enough sense to stay away from your older parents or grandparents. So from their perspective, why wouldn't they want to play? And a lot of these guys know that basically this sport is their career that could launch them into something that could make them millions of dollars, that could really bless their family. So we don't want to look at the younger guys as being insensitive or selfish. They're doing what they think is in the best interest for them and their families. And like I said, we're going to cover that because we know that's in the best interest of y'all who are watching, because you want to know what's going on. Look, guys, we got to wrap it up here. We appreciate, again, all those of you who have been watching and listening to the broadcast. Again, big shout out to the Periscope Replay viewers, and big shout out to everyone who's watching the show on demand, on whatever platform that is, or who's listening to it on demand. Before I go, the minister, got to put the minister cloth on, as I always do, and ask you, ma'am or sir, do you know mighty Yahashua HaMashiach. That's the government name for Jesus Christ. Simply means God is with us, and he is the Messiah and Savior of all mankind. If you don't know him, I please implore you, ma'am, sir, to get to know him today. Why? Because nobody loves you like Jesus. Not your mama, not your grandmama, not your auntie, not your B, not your bae, not your BFF. Nobody loves you like him. Why? Because he made us and he died for us that we might be able to dwell with him in a happy place called heaven and not end up in that terrible place called H-E-double-L. I'm just saying. All right, guys, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the evening. Until the next time, God bless you and have a good night. So long.